Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. I always love starting this podcast by saying thank you. I feel so very blessed by all the listeners' podcasts, all the messages I receive. My objective of this podcast is to really simplify spirituality and guide people on their spiritual journey. I love the fact this podcast is doing that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. My name is Nimesh Radia. Most people call me Nims. I'm the host of this podcast. I'm an Akashic reader, Akashic trainer, spiritual coach and mentor, as well as a podcast host and podcast creator. I love guiding people to truly shine their light. I'm so blessed and be able to do that on a daily basis. I love this podcast because I get to invite some beautiful guests on. And I'm so excited to have Susan Burrell on this podcast. Susan, thank you for being here. I'd love for you to introduce yourself.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And the well of gratitude is overflowing right now, Names. So, introducing myself, I am a light leader. I am a master teacher and healer. I've been doing this for over 30 years and was recently called about 4 years ago by Spirit, of course, to activate light and activate light leaders. And with what's going on in the world right now, the light leaders, those of us that are stepping into our fullness as light beings, are the ones that are going to lead us into the new paradigm that hasn't been developed yet.
Beautiful, beautiful. Isn't it interesting? Because my kind of awakening accelerated 4 years ago too. So it's that period 4 years ago is a time when a lot of us were activating. And my activation involved my mentor, friend, teacher leaving this realm, aged only 38 years old. But actually, that activated something in me. She's now one of my guides. So it's really interesting how that period, and yes, it was COVID, yes, it was lockdown, there was a lot of other stuff happening, but it really was an activation. So I just got that. So maybe the first thing for our listener is, what happened to you 4 years ago, and how did that impact your awakening? And it feels like we are coming full circle. So before we began this episode, we were just talking about what do we want to dive into, and it's interesting. We talked about 4 years ago. It feels like we're coming into a new vibration. It feels like whatever was going on 4 years ago, for some people it's 12. It is closing out cycle, and really we are moving into the age of the feminine, and we're entering into a phase where the masculine is struggling for identity, at least what I feel, and the feminine is kind of coming to us fore. And the feminine, look, we all have masculine and feminine, but the feminine is more about the heart, the spiritual journey, more about our gifts, and it's more on that side. Whereas the masculine is all about careers, money, business. Both are important. We need both. We need balance. But I feel like so many of us are going through a massive change, some sort of identity crisis, and everybody kind of feels like they're alone. And we are on a unique journey, right? We're all a soul having a unique, so we are in some ways alone, but actually I do feel we're all going through something. So,
Yes.
and Susan, we talked about it a little bit before we begin, but I'd love for your take on, what's your take on the current energy? And, kind of when I talk about moving into the age of the feminine and the masculine energy suffering, what's your take on that?
Well, first of all, I believe we're already there. We are already there. This is what's been occurring for the last 10, 15 years, is the divine feminine has been, in my case, and many others, the divine feminine energy has been pounding the planet by coming through the eclipse energies, all different kinds of portals that have been opening that portals that we don't know about, we can't see. I mean, who knew? But we are now in the age of Aquarius, and the age of Aquarius is our next golden age on planet Earth. And that means, I got chills. That means that we are all, humanity, everyone, man, woman, are being called to elevate our consciousness, to actually become aware that we are not this human body, even though we need to be here. We are a spiritual entity moving through this body. And so the human body has been going through upgrades. And I shared with you before we started that I went through about a 4-week upgrade that people are calling ascension symptoms. And, and I'll just say it out loud: nausea, feeling fluish, needing to sleep, unable to sleep, eating what you want, and then, or not eating it, all of that. And the reason is because we are now in not only the age of Aquarius, but we are in 5D, the fifth dimension. It is now happening. It's already happened. It's not like a future thing, guys. It's already happening. And the body, the physical body, because we were incarnated in 3D, right? Touch, feel, all that is upgrading. And so some people are feeling sick. Some people are choosing to leave the planet because it's so intense. Some people are choosing not to open their consciousness because if they haven't been aware that this is happening, it's probably very confusing for many people. And I want to address the feeling alone because I started a class last night. I teach Are You a Light Leader courses. And there was a couple people that said, I feel so alone. And here's the thing, because we're all going through it and it all looks different because we're all unique, divine, individuated sparks. It can feel like we're alone, but we're all going through it. So it's important to be with, well, we were talking about it before we start recording, to find your other crazy people, to find your other weirdos, to find your other woo people that you resonate with, and have the conversation of, here's what's going on with me, what's going on with you, and share the information. But also then you can feel like you're in community, because this is the other thing the divine feminine requires of us. It's no longer the divine masculine was beautiful when it was working in harmony with the divine feminine several centuries ago. But what occurred is that there was so much power in the divine masculine that individuals began to think they were the power. Individual, and mostly men, which is what you can see in all the religions over the last 3,000 years, are founded on a masculine principle. But the divine feminine is requiring what in this next new age, collaboration, communication, being in community, being in circles, which is why I have circles behind me. The circles are where we connect, not the individual. It's no longer the top down, which is why we're seeing all the masculine based or pyramid based CEO and then all the little ants at the bottom, why we're seeing all of that collapse.
Yep.
Because it's about collaborating. And so what I'm doing, Nems, is leading and teaching individuals how to be that collaborative light, so that
Beautiful.
whatever the next thing that's coming, or as it's unfolding, because really it's unfolding already, we can lead from that divine inner light and awareness, which is really love, leading from love, higher frequency of love, being love. And that's what the divine feminine is requiring right now. And it's in tandem with the divine masculine, who's going, okay, I'm letting go. You're right. So we're integrating. That's another thing that's hard for people to understand. And it could be why there's so many people that have incarnated recently as transgender, because they don't want to be one thing, right? They were one thing for many lifetimes, and one thing, the other thing for many lifetimes, and now they get that it's about the integration.
Yeah, it's the balance.
So,
Beautiful. So much of what you said. I guess the first thing, just from my side, to point out is, look, we all have divine feminine, divine masculine, and it is the struggle that we're all going through is really about finding that balance. And we've all, if you look at it, as you mentioned, the last few centuries, it has all been about the masculine. And you look around, and so much is being taken down and reset, and moving from the third dimension to first, whichever you decide, it is a choice. There's no right or wrong. Who are we to decide what's right or wrong? But you are going through something inside. So the more that you can connect with you inside and look for the answers inside you, I was sure easier, maybe the wrong word because it doesn't, but the more ease and grace things can be, because it's just, this is a period of letting go. Yeah, masculine for me is all around having control, and we don't have any control right now. It is the thing we can control right now is what we focus on in this moment. How much beauty, how much love, how much joy do we feel in this moment? Do
Exactly.
we really have control? I mean, look at the last few years. Who could have imagined the amount of, the lockdown and the impact that had? But even this year, so much for so many people I talk to, has been so much going on emotionally, spiritually. We've been closing cycles. So many people have been losing friends, and their whole. That's what you talked about some of the ascension symptoms, but so much of it is, if you look at it, is every part of you, every facet of you just being released, so a new version of you can be born. And so if you are feeling more tired, if you're feeling like you've been unwell, you're struggling sleeping, but also your world is falling apart. I know I'm making it sound easy, but that's kind of intentional. It's a phase that we're
Yeah.
going through. And the more that you can just let go, um, the easier it's going to be.
hmm There's
And
a
I get it's
mantra I've
hard.
been using for many years called, I tell myself, I surrender to the love and light within me. I surrender to it. So that, because the idea of control is the old masculine,
Yeah.
and the control is uh, activated from fear, and the fear needs fuel with anger and hatred and
Yeah.
divisiveness. And we really are in this new age, in this new 5D experience, in the honoring the divine feminine. If you want to make it easier, the surrendering is a huge piece,
Yeah.
and recognizing that the time to surrender is when you feel like you can't control anything. The time
Yeah.
to surrender is when you want to control things. But because it's all new restructuring, and everything has to fall apart before it can be
Yeah.
rebuilt. Everything, you guys. That's why it's global. This isn't in one small town in one small country. It's global, and we're all going through it. And it's important to recognize you're not alone. You're not alone, because you have spirit guides. The more you attune to a higher frequency of love and consciousness, the more you, me, us, become aware that there are so many light beings that aren't incarnated that are assisting us through this process. So spirit guides and angels, and there's people saying the dragons are coming back. There's people saying the unicorns are now, okay, that's woo. That's, for some people, that's a
Cool.
weird thing. For me, I believe it, and I felt it. And I've actually met some of these beings that
Yeah.
had ascended to, a 10th level dimension, and they are graciously assisting us, humanity, as we move in, because humanity is a grand experiment. The human
Yeah.
being on planet Earth is a grand experiment. And so they're supporting us. And the experiment is, can we really live in harmony? Can we really live in unity? Can we really live in oneness? Can we really live in love on a physical planet? And that's the grand experiment. And right now, the outer world, it might seem like not. And what you're saying, it's so important to develop and get in touch with your inner wisdom, the inner wisdom, because we all have our own solutions. It's not looking outside for what's the answer. That answer doesn't exist anymore. It's
Yeah.
crumbling. The answers exist within each of us. And the more you tune into your heart space and align it with a high frequency, the easier your answers will come. And then the easier it will be to surrender and or activate the solutions you've been given intuitively, right?
So
It's an
beautiful.
intuitive
Yeah.
process.
It's a trust. It's a trustful. It's letting go and truly trusting. And it's that you talk about the heart. I mean, the way I talk about it is switching from I think to I feel. Really
hmm
feeling what you and allowing yourself to feel. It's that, and we compare ourselves to other people, and we're all unique. And it's just, how can anyone else tell you what you need to do for you? The
Right.
more you can start trusting your own instincts, and you're so right about the word surrender. It's just We want to control. It is masculine, but it's also very ego based. And our ego is trying to keep us safe. I love it when thumbs up comes up. It's our ego just trying to keep us safe, because if we change and if we start to embrace the 5D, then we're going to change. And what if we fail? What if we fall over? So the control is, be kind to yourself. If you're trying to really understand, maybe talk to your ego and say, you know what, it's okay, we've got this. And be open to your
Exactly.
world changing. And the word surrender and saying it out loud is so, just even I surrender. I surrender and I let go of any of my expectations is so powerful, because it is hard. We depending on your background, we've all led some kind of program life. We've all had certain expectations. We've, kind of had some sort of programming, and we're all going through a journey of shedding it. And all of
Yeah.
that, and you talked about religions, it's all about, again, none of it's good or bad. So no judgment here. But religions are all about rules, control, whereas a spiritual journey is all about self. It's all about what's inside you and trusting your messages. So the biggest thing right now is to sit in meditation, is to listen to your heart, listen to what's happening inside you and trusting it. And for a lot of us, that's alien, because it's like when we're looking for answers, we go outside, we go to Google, we go this, we go here, we go there. Wait, hold on.
And
What if we could just stop and just breathe and just ask, what do I need to do next? What should I focus on? And don't make it about 5 years, 1 year, whatever. Make it about now, because that's what you
yes,
can really focus on.
that's
And
one of the questions I ask myself weekly, if not daily, is who am I now? Who am I now? Because we're always changing.
yeah,
And and then how am I to serve? How am I to serve today? But Names, can we
but
talk
can I
about
just stop?
trust?
Yeah, can I just stop there and just ask our listeners to ask that question themselves? Who are you today? What are you holding on to that's part of your old self? What can you
Mhm,
let go of today that is no longer serving you?
mhm.
Because so many of our clients struggle with that question, because I put it as part of the program is, who are you? And they're like, if you focus on the roles, I'm a son, daughter, mother, father, worker, whatever. Those are just the roles. That's not who you are.
Right. Those are labels.
Yeah. So who are you today? And I interrupted you. You were going to talk
No,
about fear, but
no.
I wanted to really, I felt like an important question to ask our listeners.
So I want to ask you about trust because for me, especially, and like I said, I've been teaching spiritual principle and metaphysics and all sorts of stuff, healing for over 30 years, and trust still trips me up because, especially for those of us who have trauma in our, at least in this life, but many lifetimes of trauma, the trust factor, or the faith, have faith. People would tell me, have faith. I'm like, in what? What do I have faith in? And then, or trust who, what? So it is about, I guess it's, for me, it's about learning to trust my intuition, right? And
Yep.
not necessarily trusting others. Although if I trust my intuition, I am guided to those I trust. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, the way I like to, everything in your external is a result of something in your internal. So the
Yes.
trust you talk about comes from you. And if you trust you and you do, you know, for me, if I'm triggered by somebody, not always easy, but I know that means that something inside me is ready to heal.
Hmm.
So if I experience something externally, then I'll try and stop and say, well, hold on. What was my lesson here? What is this person here to teach me? Because once I integrate that lesson, I can release it and not hold on to it. And sometimes it's hard, right? We're emotional beings and it's okay. You go through a journey, but if you can just realize that and really kind of remind yourself that everything in your external is a result of something in your internal, and that all the answers you need are inside you. And, of course, working with us and working with different people, if it feels right at a heart and soul level, we guide you to what's happening inside you. None of us, I can't tell you what to do. Who am I to tell you what to do? But I can use my experience, my intuition, the message I get from my guides to share with you what I feel about you, to guide you to your answers. That's what I feel we're here to do. We're not here to, I can't force anybody to go down to and accept the 5D. That's not up to that's not up to me, and I don't want
Right.
to.
Well, it's
But
also as we individually learn how to accept ourselves and love ourselves more, it becomes more of a natural instinct to then expand and trust and explore creatively. You know, all of this is a creativity that we're expressing through right now. Um, so yeah, so I'm hearing that I want to loop back to the ego piece because the ego piece is also, in my mind, the ego. There's lots of teachers that used to say, get rid of your ego, toss it out the door. The ego is there to help guide us as well, but it doesn't need to be the one running the show.
yeah,
And part of that is that when individuals begin to do shadow work, the ego is either saying, yes, right over there, that's the corner you're supposed to look in. And then when you get to that corner, the ego might sit down and have a tizzy fit, you know, and see, I've been trying to tell you this all, man. But it's helpful, because when we do the shadow work, which to me is looking in those dark pockets of my personality or my being that have always kind of frightened me, when I can open up those pockets and begin to explore, I then find those, and this is what we can do as we do it within ourselves. Then it becomes easier to accept what's happening in the outer world, because as I accept those pockets of whatever darkness, whatever shadow, whatever color you want to make it, um, as I begin to realize, oh, this is somehow assisting me, then the integration within my being, within my awareness, becomes easier, as opposed to, oh, I have to eradicate that, I have to fight that, I
yeah,
don't want to be that. Which is why I asked the question, who am I now? Who
yeah.
am I now?
It's. I mean, there's also. I mean, the stages that we go through. The first stage is always awareness, and awareness is really about accepting all of you. It's like we all have light and
Mhm.
dark. You don't. There is no light without dark. There's no dark without light. So it's that we need the ego. We need we need the heart. We need the masculine, the feminine. All of it is part of who we are. And it's like having two kids and only choosing to love one of them. You can't just you got to love all of you. You got to fall in. And the thing to remember is what we're going through right now. We don't know this version of ourselves. That's why asking who am I is so powerful, because so often we're holding on to the old version of who we thought we were,
Mhm.
and who we, oh my God, I was so much happier because we live with rose tinted glasses, right? And it's just, you've changed so much. Everything you've experienced, you did it, but you are a different person than you were a week ago.
Right.
Everything it's like so much happens in a week. It goes so quick, but actually so much happens. And it's kind of paradoxical right now. It's just like, sometimes I feel like the universe is playing games with us. It's like so much happens in a short space of time, but it is, the thing we need to remind ourselves is our soul chose to be here.
Oh yeah.
And the things that we're going through, and again, this is hard for some people, and it was hard for me, is what we're going through is actually what we signed up for.
Yep.
This was what our soul chose to go through in this lifetime. And the more that we can accept, this is why it's like the first stage is awareness. So you ask yourself, who am I? You go through stage of, and then you have to accept. You've got to love and accept all versions of you. Again, you can't just pick the pieces you like and just love those. You've got to, where you are right now, fall in love with this version of you.
Exactly.
And then love, right? Then decide what you want from awareness, acceptance, fall in love with this version of you. And from there you can then take on the world. And the community part is so important. So many people right now feel alone because they feel like nobody understands. They feel like every part of them is being dissolved, and that's why you feel lonely, because you don't recognize you. The part of you that was before no longer exists. So you've got to get to know this new version of you and allow new things in, because you're holding on to the old versions, the old people. And as soon as you start to ask, who am I? And then ask, well, hold on, what are the things? Who are the people I'm holding on to? Who are the things I'm holding on to? And again, it's difficult, but then you start to release those, and then you create space in your life for new things to come through.
Absolutely. So, and that can be intentional. Actually, in my light leader, Are You a Light Leader course, we're doing a deeper journey. And the first day, I've asked them to do a mind map. Um, Hopefully everybody knows what a mind map is. If not, you can go to my website and find out. But I asked them to do a mind map on I release. So in the center, you say I release, and then you do spokes off. What is it you want to release? And sometimes, so I do it when I teach, I do the work as well. And so I had I release, and it was I release this person. Well, why am I releasing this person? Because because I feel out of control when I'm around that person, or because I feel like I can't accept them for who they are. So what do you want to release? And over the course of 5 days, we're going to release one of those things. So like today, I'm releasing, oh Jesus, what am I releasing? Oh, crumb. Expectations. I'm releasing expectations. So here's the other thing about this, NIMS, is when you empty something out, right? When you empty out a container, because the universe, spirit, source energy, whatever you call it, is dynamic. It's constantly in motion, which addresses why things feel like they're happening quickly. It's constantly in motion. So when you empty out a container empty out yourself, releasing expectations, then you want to fill it intentionally. You want to be intentional about what comes in, because that way you can elevate your consciousness. If you empty out, like when you clean your closet and then you go thrift store shopping, your closet gets full, right? So you got to be intentional of what you're going to put in that closet, not the same stuff from another thrift store.
Yeah.
So for me, then if I'm releasing expectations, then what I am embracing, what I am bringing into my awareness in order to elevate more is acceptance, accepting what is as it is. So that's a beautiful practice, everybody.
Wow.
If you want to take it on, it's not hard to do, but you do have to be honest with yourself. You have to be 100% honest with yourself, and then 100%. I see my shoulders go up and I have to wiggle. 100% willing to release, to let go of the thing you thought was important. Like so many people, they're having a hard time letting go of control of anything. And because the world is appearing chaotic, they feel like they have to control more. And the world is appearing chaotic, like you said, because it's within us to be released, but it's also because it has, for whatever reason, why everybody we chose to be here right now. If you look within, you'll understand why you're here. But it is happening. All of the chaos we're seeing globally is happening so that we can all grow up. We can grow up. We can ascend consciously. And the grow up to me means growing up from a kindergartner kicking sand in somebody's face to an adult and individuating. I am no longer under someone else's control or say so. I am an individual. I stand in my own power. I stand in my own light. I stand in truth and love.
Wow. So beautifully said. It's interesting. You talk about expectation. I do feel that's where so many people are struggling right now in terms of how they expected their life to turn out, where they expected to be, kind of. I mean, I look at my life and I talked about earlier on, it's, when I started out, I was expecting to be fully focused on the corporate career, be the married with 2.4 kids and, kind of lead. And that was never my destiny. And, but I've let go of that expectation. Now, actually, I love what I do, but it's, it is our expectations. And sometimes it's not even our own expectations. It's, what do we grow up with? Our parents, religion, society. And if we can leave those expectations, so powerful, then accepting who you are, so powerful, so beautifully said. I love it. And, the way I think about, it's interesting you talk about becoming an adult. I see us right now as kind of being reborn and like almost being infants with no programming, blank canvas, getting to know this new version of ourselves. And, letting go of the old version and truly embracing and being conscious about what are you feeding yourself, what are you listening to, letting go of those things. It feels so important to really let go of your expectations and your control, but still do the right things. You still, the control we have is choosing to meditate, choosing to spend time in nature, choosing to stay hydrated, choosing to have conscious conversations. Those are the control things that we can control. I feel are important. What's coming next and what's going to happen in a year's time, and who knows? And is it really important? It feels important, but if you go back a year and you look at who you are right now, could you have planned everything that's happened in the last 12 months
No,
realistically? So,
no.
but you made
And,
it.
and
Whatever
that's
you've
the
been
joy of
through,
being
yeah, you
alive
made
right
it.
now. Yeah. It's, again, it's part of the, like you said, the old training, whether it's family or lifetimes or generational, of the expectation that's leveled on you. And I'm telling you guys, when you can lift that expectation that's been put on you from others, that creates a belief system that I must be this, whatever this is. In my case, it was perfect. It was blah, blah. When you lift that off your shoulders, the freedom is amazing. And then your brilliance, those unique gifts that you came in with, whether it's, creating a beautiful piece of art, or like in terms of what you do now, you had that gift, Nims. You had that gift for forever, and you
Yeah.
had to let go of those expectations in order for the truth of your being, the reason why you came back yet again in this
Yeah.
lifetime at this particular time, is so your gifts could come forward again. And so many people are going through this journey that,
Yeah.
we're talking about, because the clairvoyancy, the clairs, the intangible, intuitive guidance system is waking up in so many people. And I have students coming, that pull me aside and say, "Oh my God, I stand next to a person and I hear their grandmother saying, 'Could you tell them this? Tell them, and remind them about the brooch so they know I'm talking to them.'" And this is a person he did that when he was younger, but now he's doing it constantly. So our
Opens up beautiful,
yes,
beautiful
our
gifts.
spiritual tools and gifts that we have been developing for lifetimes are now being called into action. They are
Yeah.
being activated now. And
And yeah.
that could be part of what might be contributing to some people's, confusion of who am I now and what do I do? Because these things are opening up, and they're opening up rapidly,
Yeah.
rapidly.
And it's like we're receiving more, and our human psyche can't handle it, but it's not meant to. That's
No,
why
it's
when we
not. That's
shift
why,
from I think to I feel, it's
right.
meant to come into your heart.
Heart.
And it's just, letting go. And the other thing is, I'm always conscious about talking about gifts, because it's like sometimes we compare. It's like, oh my God, I'm not receiving those messages about this person's, brooch. And understand your gifts are unique to you. So don't compare yourself to other people, because you're different, and your gifts and how you receive it. Maybe you don't visualize things, maybe you feel things, maybe you hear things, but whatever your method is your method. And it's that, again, it comes down to our expectations. It's like, if we expect so many people, oh my God, I can't see anything. Well, do you feel something? Oh yeah, I feel something, but I don't see it. I'm like,
Right.
get excited about feeling something. What are you worried about seeing things? But it's
I
our
had another
expectation.
student, in a class, come to me afterwards, and she's like, "Oh my God, Susan, I think I'm going crazy." I'm like, "Why?" She goes, "Because when I look around the room, I see different colored lights around each of these people, and I'm looking around, I don't see it." But I was like, "I'm thrilled for you. That's a huge ability." And she goes, "Really? I'm not weird." I said, "Oh my God, no, that's amazing, and I encourage you to develop it." And so it's more than auras
Yeah,
that she sees. It's a whole bunch of radiant lights that are surrounding people, as they are being assisted, right?
yeah.
Which goes back to,
How
again, are
beautiful.
we alone? We have huge assistance from the unseen side of life that is rooting for us, and knowing already in many ways, that we are moving into that. sphere of love that is more than humanity has ever experienced.
So beautiful. And our role as teachers and holding space is so important, because imagine back in the day, if she'd had that conversation with somebody else, they would have probably said, "You're crazy." And, she then would have maybe not activated that gift. And it's just, it's so beautiful. And it's interesting you talking about, people changing. I spent so many years in the corporate world and I loved it. I enjoyed my time there, but I can't believe when I did this healing, a lot of creating the healing work I do in parallel, but I only left there in January. And when I think back, oh my God, it was January. I feel like I've been through so many lives since that period. It feels like such a long time ago. It's really interesting. And that world doesn't resonate. I feel like I've got to go back at some point to do some healing within, but that's a different avatar.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But again, the reason I'm saying this is for all the listeners, look at how much you've changed and how much you've gone through. And, everything that was important to you 3-6 months ago probably isn't important anymore.
Oh, I bet
And just
not. I
letting go is surrendering and realizing that we're on a roller coaster. Just, it is what it is. Change can be scary, but it is what it is. The only constant in this life is change.
I want to encourage your listeners to also, there's another thing, what you just said of, you could do a mind map on who was I, how, corporate and this
Yeah.
and that and whatever, wife, father, mother, and then do the reverse of then who am I now?
Yeah.
Dedicated spiritual teacher, or I do yoga every day. Who am I now compared to who you were? It is interesting
Yeah.
to see the journey, to track it. And then you might
Yeah.
even add what skill sets from that previous person I was do I want to maintain or keep in who I am now, and what skill sets that I had then I really don't want. I don't
Yeah.
want it.
And I guess maybe another question to add on to that is the pieces that I'm still holding on to, who is it serving?
That's good. That's really good. Yep.
Because sometimes we hold on to things and it's not serving us. Somehow we think we're doing it for somebody
Yep.
else.
Yep.
But are we really? And all of this actually, for me, comes back in full circle. And that's having an honest conversation with yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Really being truthful. It's like when you do these mind maps, do them with an open heart. Do them with no judgment. This is for you. And the thing is, we judge ourselves so much, and we just honestly be kind to yourself and be proud. Look at how much you've grown. Look at how much you did it.
Yep.
And realize that there's so many people going through something similar. Not the same. I'm very careful with my words, but going through something similar, and you have people around you that can guide you if you're open to it.
Yes. And that, I think, is the important thing. I've had many guides on the unseen side and on this side. I've studied with so many different people that helped me get to the next level of consciousness that I was aiming for without realizing it,
Yeah.
And fortunately or unfortunately, you mentioned the roller coaster of life. There isn't an end. Like, you don't get to get off. Like, it doesn't finish. Right.
Yeah, it doesn't. I
It
mean, it's like
doesn't.
if you think about this year, I've been waiting for this calm period. And I realized recently, I was like, this intensity is not going to end, is it? It's just like, there's a reality that came over me. There's like, every time, I channel a message through the records, it's almost like, we apologize. We know it's really intense and you're integrating. It's just like, this is the period we're in. It's a roller coaster. Enjoy it.
And that's why meditation,
Yeah.
being quiet within your soul, within your heart, within your mind, is so vital right now. Even if you can just hold it for 10 minutes, it's so important, because it's just a never ending journey. There's a movie.
Yeah. And even with meditation, and so many people say to me, I can't meditate. We have to remember it's a muscle. You can't go to the gym and all of a sudden have a six pack. So you've got to try and do something consistently to try and really kind of connect with you. So it's like, if you're trying to connect with your heart, even 10 minutes silence, I recommend first time you do it, your mind's going to be busy. Of course it's going to be busy, But if a thought comes in, let it come, let it go, let it come, let it go. But if you do it consistently, your mind goes quieter and you can truly listen to your heart and soul.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, you get to be more present. You get to understand that you're on a roller coaster, and you get to maybe ask a different question. Because when you're busy, all in your head, then you're stuck in your ego. You're stuck in expectations. You're stuck in control. But you do have the power to build that muscle to be present and the way I look at life is I'm always going to be a student. And it means that if something happens to me, oh, isn't that interesting? Why did that happen? How is that helping me? What did I learn from that experience? And when you become a student, you become inquisitive and you realize, because anyone, for me, and maybe judge, but anyone that says they're healed, kind of like, yeah, okay, sure. Because I feel like healing is a lifetime journey and things come up. Again, like repeat programs. Why do I keep doing? No, you have a different level of healing. If something comes up again, it's because you're ready to heal it. Get excited.
Right. And it's a layer. You're peeling layers to get to the kernel of the thing
That's
that actually needs to be healed. And I tell my students, if somebody says I'm healed, just look, are they standing on water? Are they walking on water? You know? Um, there's something you said that reminded me of something, and now it's just floating out of my pretty little head. Oh my God, and it was really meditation. So I've been a meditator consistently for so close to 40 years. And by consistently, I mean almost every day. And I still can't get my mind to shut up. There's days where I sit and it's going and I'm like redirecting it and redirecting it. So I've created a bunch of guided meditations that I've loaded onto an app called Insight Timer
nice.
that help people. It helps me. I just listened to one today because of my light leader course that I created, and I'm like, I need to really sit and be here doing this, listening, breathing, processing whatever this is. So, if you for your listeners, if sitting still is challenging, listen to some guided meditations. There's really great practitioners out there that will be helpful. But also Insight Timer, the reason why I started with them is because they have a timer.
Oh,
You
interesting.
can set the timer for 10 minutes. You don't have to worry about, oh my God, I got to get to work or walk the dog or whatever, feed the kids. Set it for 10 minutes and just tell yourself, now this is my sacred time. And when the timer dings, then you get up and do your life.
That's so interesting. Yeah. That's why I always recommend 10 minutes. Everybody can have 10 minutes.
Yep.
Everybody can find it because it's like other people say, I'm too busy. I'm too busy. You can find 10 minutes. And the thing is, when you find the 10 minutes, you'll find that actually that 10-minute grows because you'll start to feel the difference. And
Mm-hmm.
look, it's again, our expectations. If your expectations, your mind's going to go quiet, then just whatever you go through is perfect for you. And it's really interesting. I probably shouldn't say this, but I can't listen to my own meditations. I know other people love them, and apparently I put people to sleep. But my own meditations, something about it's really interesting. But I love listening to other people's guided meditations, and Sidra has so many too. But again, pick the one that resonates with you.
Yes.
Susan, I'd
Yes,
love for you to
absolutely.
talk more about what do you do? If somebody wants to work with you, what services do you offer? How do you guide people on this journey?
Well, those are 5 different questions there, Nins. First of all, if you're curious about what I do, go to my website, susanburrell.com, because I do take clients on. What I found in my many, many, many years of working with people is that um, you have to commit to the work. I am a no nonsense, kick you in the butt person if you come to work with me. And that means that it's not a one session and then you get to go, oh, I'm good. Because that doesn't work for
It
people.
doesn't work
Because
that way.
if something has transmuted in one session, you 5 days down the road will not remember that that's where it occurred, and it will be unsustainable. So I require, when people come to work with me, I require that they commit to 10 sessions. because it becomes
Yeah.
sustainable. And most of my clients, the best thing I can say about my record is most of them leave, right? They don't, it's not an ongoing, like with a therapist. You now have skills because I teach skill sets like mind mapping
Yeah.
and doing your own energy
It's
bath
yeah.
and healing yourself from the inside out and stuff like that. So, definitely go to the website and see what's there. I also am a podcaster, and my podcast is called Empowering Chats, and I have the opportunity to teach on that podcast besides interview people. Yours truly over here, Nims, is coming on.
Looking forward
But
to it.
to interview people that are doing amazing work in the world, amazing work. And by that I mean people that are channeling from the unseen side, people that are doing past life regressions, people that have had near death experiences, people that are learning how to eat healthy and tune into their chakras. I mean, it's very eclectic group of people that I talk to. And then I have
Beautiful.
the timer. And also I wrote a book called Live Your Empowered Life, a 30-day journey. I am uh, getting ready to teach that. So that'll be on my website, but it's my book, Live Your Empowered Life, is a workbook. Again, it's not because I'm like, let's just get it done, people. And so it's a daily something to do, whether it's journaling or just repeating an affirmation. There's affirmations in it that I work, or there's a mind map so you can refigure your life purpose. There's walking a labyrinth. There's all sorts of stuff, and it's interactive with my website because, like you were saying, Mims, people feel alone, and I don't want people to feel alone. So with
Beautiful.
the book, you go to the website and you watch a video so that it's like I'm doing the book with you. So you get support. Um,
Wow.
so that's
Beautiful.
some of what I do.
I'm sure. As you said, there's a lot of things, and I'll include your website and other links, etc., into the show notes. So, you know, Susan's clearly been on this journey to guide, and an important fact I want to go back to is, I find so many people want a quick fix,
Mm.
and in this journey, I don't want to say it's long, hard, whatever journey is unique, but you have to do the work. There's no bypassing your human journey here. You can accelerate. I always say that, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. You can accelerate your journey for sure. And I feel with both of us, if you work with us, that's what we get you to do. We get you. But I'm sure, Susan, you're the same. We should come with a health warning. It's that, it's that if you choose to work with us, if it sits on your soul and if we connect with you, then know that we're going to take you deep. It just is. It's what we do. It's what what you signed up for. But also know it's a soul contract. I really feel that
Yes.
anyone that works with me is a soul contract. So know that your soul in some way asked us to guide you and asked us to take you on a deep journey. So that's why picking a mentor, picking somebody to work with, for me, I always tell people, listen to your heart. Listen, if it resonates there, if it resonates here, then actually it's the wrong decision because then you
Right.
want to be fixed.
Yeah.
But if it comes from the heart, then trust it.
Yes. And that goes back to trust, learning how to trust yourself. If you're
Yeah.
choosing a spiritual guide or teacher or mentor, listen to your heart. If you're listening to your head, then chances are you're listening to what other people have said about that person that may not be true for you.
Yeah.
That's the warning label right there, Mims. Don't go to
Yeah.
that anymore.
100%. And the thing is, with trust has come up a lot, and it's just, if you're struggling with trust and you're struggling to trust other people, again, I'll make it sound easy, but the trust has to begin with you.
Mm-hmm.
Trusting your instincts, trusting your heart. And so many people have been through so much, and I get it. Sometimes it's hard to trust another person. But if you start to trust you and you start to trust your messages, start to trust your heart. And I'm sure some people are like, well, every time I make a decision, I make a mistake. Everything you've been through has brought you to this person.
Mm-hmm.
If you start to trust your heart rather than your head, then you'll go on a journey that you're meant to go on. Is it
And
going to
I
be
want
easy? Who knows?
it, well, it's going to be what it is. But for me, learning to trust myself began with learning to love myself,
So
because
true.
I, at a ripe age of 50 something, got out of a marriage, 28-year marriage, and realized I didn't love myself at all. I didn't even know how. And so I had to really learn to love myself first. And then I could begin to trust myself, because, because that particular relationship gaslit me for 28 years. So learning to love myself first was the key component to then building that
So true.
trust muscle, you know.
So
And
true.
one of the affirmations I used constantly, which was, I love myself, I am loved, I love myself, and I love myself more than I ever have in my life. And that was just, I would say it when I was walking. I would say it when I was doing the dishes or getting ready to go to bed. And just to this, I guess that was part of the brain to the heart
Yeah. It's
thing, you know.
reprogramming. It's kind of,
But
it's really,
it did, and it had to drop. And when I work affirmations, they have to drop into the heart in order for them to work. If you don't, if you're
it's,
just doing it in your brain, in your head,
yeah.
they're never gonna
Then you
shift
just
you.
tick in a box. You're just
Yeah,
ticking a
yeah,
box.
yeah.
It's interesting. For me, even before loving yourself, it's accepting yourself.
Uh-huh.
Accepting you, everything you've been through is because we judge ourselves. Oh, I can't believe I did this. Accept you are in this position. Whatever's happening in your world, accept that you somehow manifested the reality you're in. And sometimes that's hard.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can start. And another thing I recommended, there's so many things we talked about, journaling and the rest of it, but it was mirror work. And the reason I recommend mirror work is because we focus so much on the physical body, but loving ourselves from the inside. And mirror work for me, they say our eyes are windows to your soul, right? So just looking into the mirror with one eye and just connecting with you on the inside, feeling what you're feeling, because sometimes you're going to feel darkness and that's okay. But saying whatever's in your heart, I always recommend and start by, I appreciate you, I thank you, and I love you. I appreciate you, thank you, and I love you. And that way you start to connect with you on the inside at a deeper level. And as you
That's
talk about
lovely.
affirmation, there's one that comes into my mind that when you were talking, and it's actually, I use it all the time when I'm walking. All I need is within me now.
Ooh, I like that.
And then I can add all the love I need is within me now. All the strength I need is within me now. All the power I need, all the magic. But it's like all I need, all the love I need is within me now. Powerful.
It is very powerful. I'm writing it down.
I love it. I love it.
That's a very powerful one. And then adding the qualities. That's
Yeah,
beautiful. Thank you for that one.
you're more than welcome. So, Susan, as we come close to the end of the episode, you know what I'm going to ask you? Is any kind of final bits of advice, but also I love to leave the listener with some journal prompts. So
Well, they've gotten several through this
I'm sure.
conversation,
Yeah,
haven't they? Um, I think so. I'm just going to say, follow the prompts that we were giving you, but it's very important when you journal, to 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 get the garbage out of your head. So sometimes I ask students to journal just to get the crap out,
yeah.
the never ending story that loops.
It's brain
And then
dump. It's a
once you've
brain dump.
gotten that out, then look and see what's the kernel. And you can, like if the kernel is self-doubt, then your affirmation, all I need is within me now, all the truth or honesty or whatever. So see if you can find what the kernel is of the garbage you just journaled out, and pull something out and affirm or affirm the opposite. Like I'm having my students and I'm releasing expectations. Now I'm going to affirm that I am accepting everyone and everything as it is. It's not for me to change, control, whatever. So I think getting the garbage out is first important, and then you can ask your questions.
Yeah. It's important because when you do the brain dump, when you release the garbage, if you leave a void, then your ego, whatever, will fill the void with whatever it wants to fill. But when you're then replace it with something, maybe the affirmations, and then you're replacing whatever you just released with something consciously, which is why I
Conscious
always
and
recommend,
positive.
after journaling, I always recommend doing some affirmations and then being intentionally gratitude, taking time to be grateful, but being intentional, picking conversations. Oh my God, I had a great conversation with Susan as we were recording the podcast. I loved it. And being intentional with that message, because what that does, one, it creates a magic moment in me that's intentional. And secondly, I'm saying to the universe, I want more of these magic moments. So
Hmm.
that's when you start to, and then the last thing I always recommend is manifestation. But manifest like it's already done. You're already living it. You're living it. You're living whatever. But again, let go of the intention of how it's going to come through or whatever it looks like. But just be in a magical space. I love
Hmm.
journaling. It's just such a great way of releasing.
Well, and the last thing I would suggest is once you've gotten all that out, then you've like in that open space you just mentioned again, you can ask the wisdom of your heart. The wisdom of my heart wisdom is called Sophia, which is actually a word for ancient wisdom. But I say, Sophia, wisdom of my heart, I am listening. And then I just listen and write down whatever it is I feel here, which is always so kind and loving because it's coming from that source energy within.
So beautiful. And actually, just the other thing that just came to me is naming your heart, naming your essence, almost kind of like giving that powerful avatar a name is beautiful. But also, sometimes it's easier if you give your ego a name. Give your ego
Hmm.
a fun, silly name. That way, if your ego is trying to keep you stuck, you can just have a silly conversation with your ego and just kind of make it lighthearted. So
I love that. That's a great idea.
just because it's, you know what, this life is meant to be fun. It's not meant to be all serious. I guess some of it is serious. There's some serious, but why can't we have fun doing it? So Susan, I've loved. I feel like I can talk to you for hours. I've loved this conversation. Thank you for agreeing to be on this podcast. I feel very, very blessed. For all my listeners, thank you, thank you, thank you. If anything we've said resonates, please do reach out. Continue to DM me about any feedback. If something Susan says resonates and you feel a connection when she speaks, when you have a vibration at heart level, please do reach out. Anything I've said, if you feel the connection, please again reach out. I do mentorship. I read Akasha Records. Of course, this podcast. But I love to guide people. So please do reach out. Sending so much love and light out. And Susan, I'm going to hand over to you to do the final close.
Thank you for having me. And I'm just sending love and light to every single individual who's attracted to listening to this podcast. Just love and light, love and light, love and light.
Thank you. And I received that too.
Thank you. Yes.